Hey, with us now from Capitol Hill, Democratic Senator from North Dakota and Chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, Senator Conrad. Also with us on set, MSNBC political analyst and visiting professor at NYU, Harold Ford Jr., and also the founder, Chairman, and CEO of MDC Partners Incorporated, Miles Nadal. We thank all of you for being with us. Let's start, though, with you, Mr. Chairman. Now, this morning we heard from Eric Cantor. Good news. He talked about how the Republican Party was going to actually tackle entitlements on the House side. Will Democrats be able to follow on the Senate side?
Well, you know, I was part of the Fiscal Commission, the President's Fiscal Commission. There were 18 members. 11 of us agreed to a comprehensive plan that reduced the deficit $4 trillion. That's trillion with a T over the next decade, get our debt under control. And we had everything on the table, including entitlements. But I think it's very important to distinguish on Social Security. We did not use any of the savings from Social Security for deficit reduction. We used all of the savings from Social Security to extend the secure the 75-year solvency of Social Security. And if that principle is applied, I think we could reach an agreement. We're
obviously talking about long-term structural debt when we talk about entitlement programs. You and I both know that over the long run, that's what's most critical, even though we've got to balance the budget as soon as possible. But do you think, though, we're going to see leaders in Washington, D.C. come together and be willing to make some very tough choices this summer?
Joe, I hope this as much as I hope for anything, because the long-term economic strength of our country is dependent on what we do. The gross debt of the United States, as you know, is going to reach 100% of the gross domestic product of the United States this year. And the best economic analysis that's been done by two professors who looked at 200 years of economic crisis, studied 44 countries, found that when you get to a gross debt of more than 90% of your gross domestic product, you're in the danger zone. You compromise future economic growth in a substantial way. So that's what this is all about: future opportunity, future jobs for the American people. Too much debt acts as a lodestone around the American economy. And so it's critically important we deal with this.
And Miles Nadal, obviously, you understand this very well as a businessman, but what the chairman was saying is exactly right. You get to 90% debt of GDP, it does start acting like a drag on the economy, and basically the crisis deepens. We are facing an economic crisis of the first order here, aren't we, if we don't face up to it?
Absolutely. We also have a $14.3 trillion overall debt ceiling. We're pushing up against that. I mean, you talk about any business. We have a liquidity issue, which is ultimately we can't keep borrowing and borrowing. We're already up against that ceiling. You could never run any business like this for any period of time, let alone for a sustained period of time. And the unfortunate, sad situation is we are mortgaging the future of our children. Our children will not live as well as we are.
Okay, so on a just to bring it down to a smaller level, a smaller example, is Governor Scott Walker, what he's doing, responsible or unfair in terms of he's making major budget cuts and he's really asking people, especially the public unions, to give back?
I think it's fabulous. I think because I think at the end of the day, if you don't start making significant change to change the structural situation, you will not change anything fundamentally and fiscally.
Harold Ford Jr. has a question for you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, good morning. You've made the point. Now, I hope that you continue to draw the link between job creation and job growth. And drawing and controlling spending, particularly long-term spending. It seems to me to be an argument that might appeal to both Republicans and Democrats and to business leaders like Miles and others. How has that, you've been a leader in this front for some time now, do you think the argument of job growth, job creation, linking that to deficit reduction could help win liberals, conservatives, and moderates and pragmatic thinkers like you in the House and the Senate, win them over to support some intermediate and long-term budget, spending reductions?
Harold, I think that is the key argument, because it is the thing that unites everyone. I think virtually everyone is committed to economic growth and the economic strength of America. And when you see that we are now in the danger zone with a debt 100% of the gross domestic product of the country, And the best academic analysis shows when you reach that point, you substantially reduce future economic growth. That's what this is about. It is about the future economic opportunities for the people of our country. All of us care about that. And this is the point that we have got to put in place a long-term plan. And interestingly enough, all three of the bipartisan commissions that have come up with proposals have recognized in the short term, be modest, but for the next 10 years, be bold. In the next 10 years, you've got to take on all of the sacred cows. You're going to have to reform the revenue system. You're going to have to reform the entitlements. Yes, you're going to have to cut domestic spending, and defense can't be left out. And every bipartisan commission has come to that same conclusion.
Senator, it's Willie Geist. I learned something about you this morning that I didn't know, that you lived in Tripoli, Libya. You went to high school there, so you've got kind of an interesting perspective on this.
Didn't Huckabee say he was from Kenya?
No.
Oh, no, Libya. Okay.
Colonial view of the world.
Colonial view of the world. Let's ask him. Yes. What is his worldview?
We've heard, Senator, from the State Department and the Pentagon that all options are on the table. We know the U.S. has been pushing for a no-fly zone there. What do you think is realistic? What can we do as the United States of America to contain or intervene in this crisis?
You know, at least three things. Number one, we've got to make clear that Gaddafi has got to go. That is in the interest of the people of Libya, and it's in the interest of the world community. Number two, I think we've got to make arms available to those who are trying to topple this regime. They can't be outgunned by the remnants of the Libyan military that's still loyal to Gaddafi, and more importantly, probably the armed and hired mercenaries that Gaddafi has brought in, really thugs from other countries, to kill his own people. Number three, we've got to organize the world community to put tough sanctions on this Libyan regime, cut off their sources of money. That is the thing that will bring them down faster than anything.
So you would support, Senator, through the UN, I guess, providing, what, warplanes and weapons to the opposition?
Yeah, I think, frankly, you know, the emphasis on air is much less important in Libya than other kinds of arms because, you know, the Libyan Air Force, number one, a lot of the pilots won't fly against their own people. Number two, if you look at what's happening, really it's thugs that have been brought in from other countries that are on the streets of Libya, along with the Revolutionary Guard that is still loyal to Gaddafi, that are enforcing the regime's hold on power in Tripoli. That has got to be undermined.
All right, Senator Conrad, thank you very much, and thank you for clarifying your worldview.
Yes, I know.
I feel more comfortable as an American.
We were a little concerned.
Yeah, now good to have you on the show. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.